course, a famously well-plugged-in former skills minister, has become a real player in the complex Brexit skirmishes in Parliament. But his advocacy for a so-called softer Brexit, keeping us in a customs union and close to the single market, has infuriated his local Conservative Party, which he has now, this weekend, left. And he joins me now for his first interview since that decision to quit. Nick Boles, were you pushed?
No, I mean, a certain amount of pressure was applied. They wanted me to tell them now, 3 years before the next election is due, whether I wanted to be their candidate in that election. And the party chairman made clear to me I didn't need to tell them, I didn't need to make a decision for a year or two, but I just concluded that our relationship had reached a point where there was no point pretending that we could patch things up, and that we'd better just actually part company in a, I hope, reasonably amicable way, and then they can go and select a candidate of more to their liking for the next election.
Reasonably amicable, but your Vice President, Martin Hill, says, "This is very disappointing for us all. We have once again been betrayed by our parliamentary representative. Talk to the man and woman on the street, and they're also quite angry that their MP seems to be going back on what he promised to do at the general election. He signed up to the manifesto about coming out of the single market and the customs union, and he's right, isn't he?"
I signed up to the manifesto. I was in hospital at the time receiving chemotherapy, so I wasn't able to give it quite the attention perhaps that I should have done. But the truth is, I have voted for Theresa May's deal every time it has been offered, and I will vote for it again on Tuesday. The only thing, and in truth, the real area where I fell out with some members of my association, including Councillor Hill, was in my efforts to stop a no-deal Brexit. And obviously I was very much involved in this plan that reached its fruition last week to stop no-deal Brexit. Now, my view is that actually, as we're seeing this weekend, is going to make it more likely that Brexiters will vote for the Prime Minister's deal, and that we actually do get Brexit in the way that Councillor Hill and others would like.
And yet, an awful lot of your constituents who voted to leave the EU would be perfectly happy with a no-deal Brexit.
An awful lot might be, but I represent 100,000 people in Parliament. I have roughly 500 members of my local association, and roughly 60 people on my executive. I'm afraid I'm going to claim the right to interpret what is in the best interests of the 100,000 people I represent, and I'm not going to be bossed around by a very small number of people with very ideological views.
Are you still a Conservative MP?
I'm exactly the same kind of Conservative as I've always been, a progressive,
carry
liberal
on the Tory
Conservative.
whip.
I've said that I'd like to go on taking the Conservative whip. But I do think it's important when you stand for election on under a certain party's banner that you continue to do that, because that's ultimately what people vote for. They didn't vote for me. None of them had the first clue who I was. They voted for the Conservative Party, and I want to go on representing them. But I will be my own kind of Conservative, the one that I've always been, which is a progressive, liberal, modernising Conservative, not an ideological, reactionary Conservative.
Have you been told yet by the Tory authorities in Parliament you can stay as a Conservative, taking the Conservative whip?
Yes, I have, and they're going to transfer my membership to the National Party, so that I'll no longer be a member of my local association, but I will be able to receive the whip, and I'm meeting the Chief Whip at his request on Monday afternoon.
And this is presumably also why you are not going to join the independent group, because if you did that, you would regard yourself as having to stand for a by-election, having to re-stand for a by-election.
I mean, this is a very personal thing, and I don't want to make comments about other people's decisions, but yes, for myself, I would feel that I had ratted on my constituents because they voted for me as a Conservative. And in truth, I haven't fallen out with the Conservative Party overall.
Did you ever think about leaving it?
I did think about leaving it, and I did think about whether I should stand as an independent. But ultimately, I'm not ready to give up on the Conservative Party yet, and we've got a leadership election coming, and the progressive Conservatives, of which there are a great number in the parliamentary party, we need to start asserting ourselves. We need to start flexing our muscles. We need to start demanding a Conservative Party that actually responds to what we believe in and not just what members of the ERG believe in.
You remind me very slightly of Tom Watson on the other side. We're going to stay and fight. We're going to change the party from the inside. So you presumably think there are enough of your kind of Conservatives left inside the party and left inside Parliament to seize control back?
Well, I'm very much flattered by the comparison. I think what Tom Watson's doing inside Labour is exactly the right thing to do. And the truth is, if we don't like the idea of our two main parties becoming extreme, becoming ideological and being captured by activists, then we actually need to get organised and we need to start pushing for a more moderate, a more sensible, a more pragmatic approach. Tom's going to do it in the Labour Party. I wish him well. And I hope that with colleagues, the sorts of colleagues who've secured the results of last week, blocking no-deal Brexit on the 29th of March, we will organise now on a whole range of issues, some of which the Chancellor will be dealing with shortly in his spending review.
And we've been talking a lot already about a possible different kind of Brexit, a customs union-based one, and all the rest of it. You have been talking, not to Tom Watson, but to the leader of the Labour Party, Jeremy Corbyn, about that. Have you found some common agreement?
Yes, we've had one meeting, and he's invited us in, a group of us, I think, for a further meeting. I know, very strange days. Just to correct one point, I'm actually not arguing for a permanent customs union. That is the Labour position. I think that we need to go into a customs arrangement that lasts until we can get these new arrangements that everybody keeps on talking about. But the key point is I am arguing that we should stay in the single market. And I do think that that is essential, for all that I accept that it wasn't the Conservative manifesto commitment. If we can't get the Prime Minister's deal on Tuesday, we need to start negotiating with other parties for a single market-based deal called Common Market 2.0.
Everyone talks about compromise. Do you think that the Labour Party is prepared to compromise with people like you to get that kind of deal through?
Yes, I've had very constructive discussions with other Labour MPs, with senior members of the shadow cabinet, and obviously, as I say, with the leader of the opposition himself. And my sense is that they want to see a sensible, soft Brexit deal that is based on full membership of the single market and a customs arrangement that secures a frictionless trade and no border in the island of Ireland.
Nick Boles, thanks very much for coming to talk to us.
Thank you.
Now, a quick look at what's coming up at Politics Live in the week ahead. Here's Joe Coburn.